What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the Open Your Own Door podcast. I'm your host, Paige Espey. I'm so grateful to have you here. I'm so glad that you're tuning in, choosing to tune in again. This podcast is really new to me. I'm still figuring out all the things, all the tech, the microphone, the editing, everything. I am currently a one-woman show. So, as I learn more about this process and how much time it takes, I may end up having to get someone to help me with the editing. So if you, actually, this is kind of a call to action. If you are, I don't know if call to action is the right word. This is maybe an SOS. I don't know. But if you are someone who likes to edit podcasts, if you like to edit video, maybe shoot me a little message on the Insta, on the gram, because I am learning that I like to record. I love to record, but right now I'm sitting on maybe 3 episodes that I still have to edit before I can get them out into the world. And so at the time of recording this one right now, it is September 10th. And I've kind of been in this mode of batch recording. So I first started recording on September 2nd. And if you don't know, I am 32 weeks pregnant. And so our third baby boy is due on November 1st. And I'm really wanting to get this show out there and into the world in the next, month and a half. But I kind of wanted to get ahead and have a lot of episodes to release so that you would have plenty of content to listen to, just in case I want to take a little break, after I have baby and after I adjust to having 3 little boys in this house at home. I also talked about in the last episode, I never want anyone to think that I don't have childcare, because we do have childcare. A lot of what I want to share about on this show is just about, what it's like to own a small business and have a creative brain and have, neurodivergent tendencies, but also just the way I'm literally managing being a mother, but also being a creator, owning a storefront, all of those things that I feel like a lot of people struggle with, but they don't even really know how to ask those questions. And so I do want everyone to, I do want to be very clear when I say that I do have childcare right now. My 2 little boys, they went to daycare this morning, but I didn't even take them until probably 10:30 or something, because they had dentist appointments this morning. So this morning we woke up really early. They had dentist appointments in Jackson, which is an hour away from here. If you're new, I live in Huntington, Tennessee. It's a really small town. And so they go to the dentist an hour away. So we woke up early, we got dressed pretty quickly, and their appointments were at 8:15. I'm like, why did I schedule 8:15 appointments? Also, I've never seen my son wake up so fast and be so pumped to go somewhere. Our dentist is a really fun, it's Wild Smiles dentist and pediatric dentist in Jackson, and they have a Lego table and a train table and all these things. And my older son, he woke up so fast this morning, being like, we get to go to the dentist. We get to go to the dentist today. I'm like, oh, okay, this is interesting. But anyway, so their appointments were at 8:15, and then we got a little sweet treat afterwards. We went to Starbucks, and I got a little matcha. And I know I probably shouldn't have let them get a cake pop after the dentist. It might be a little counterproductive, but went to the dentist, and then they got a cake pop after and egg bites. And then we came home, and I took them to daycare. So then after that, I came home. I kind of picked up the house a little bit. My husband was home, actually. And he is a farmer, if a lot of you do not know. So my husband, he farms cotton and corn, and they just finished harvesting the corn yesterday. So they just got the corn crop out of the field as of yesterday. So today, obviously he went to work this morning and everything, but he did have a little moment to come home and eat lunch today. And, for the past couple of weeks, I have not seen him hardly. He's just been in the field because it's been harvest and they've been trying to get corn out. And so I haven't seen him a lot at all, not during the day. And then he's been coming home at like 9:30 at night. So it's kind of nice. We were both home at lunch at the same time. And so ate lunch and I went for a walk. So we live in Tennessee and the weather right now, it feels amazing outside. And so during the summer, I was really struggling to walk in the middle of the day. I was having to do my walks at at nighttime as the sun was going down, but I was able to take a midday walk today with my two little dogs. We have big dogs, really. They're two golden retrievers, but went on a walk, and then I came back and I took a shower and I kind of gotten freshened up because I knew I was going to be on video for this recording. And here it is 1:30 and I am now recording. And the reason I tell you all of that is because sometimes I just kind of like to know, as a creative person, as somebody who owns my own business, I like to know what the routines are of other people who don't, who might not have a typical job, might not have a typical 9 to 5. I kind of like to know what the routines are for people, because I'm like, how are you, going to the dentist and also getting the Starbucks drink, but also going on a walk, but also hanging out with your husband, and also you're eating lunch, like a proper lunch, but you're also taking a shower and getting ready and also recording a podcast episode. Like, how are you doing all those things, So I really like to hear about people's routines. I like to hear about morning routines. I like to hear about evening routines. And I really like to hear about work routines and daytime routines, and like what you do when you're not with your kids and what you do when you are with your kids. Like, these are all things that I love to hear about. So maybe you like to hear about them too. Anyway, so I am recording. Probably just going to record one episode today. But anyway, so one thing that I'm learning about myself in this whole podcasting process, and, something that I kept hearing over and over again in the starting of this show was, if you have some stuff that you need to work through and you've got some crap, you've got some mess that you need to sort through in your own life and in your own brain, I always hear like start a business or like start a podcast, because you will be forced to work through those things and you will be forced with a lot of your own stuff. You know what I mean? And so something that I'm figuring out in the process of the show is like, I'm learning it and I'm going to get better at it, but I'm learning that I can like start a thought and I will kind of get into the thought, but then another thought enters my mind and then I completely lose track of what I was talking about. And then I never end up finishing the first original thought, And so I was kind of thinking back to the previous episode. I had sort of started talking about when I was weaning my 2-year-old from nursing, and I started talking about this certain book and by Kate Northrup called Do Less, and then I never really finished my thought process. So I'm going to finish that thought process now. So something that Kate talks about in her book is the moon cycles and how, everything in our life, our society trains us to think that we are supposed to just be like on, go, go, go all the time. Productivity, like pushing things out into the world all the time. But this book is all about how to really approach your life from a cyclical mindset. So like as females who have cycles monthly, obviously I'm pregnant right now, so I'm not cycling, but and even males, like we all are cyclical human beings. And if you are not someone who has a cycle every month, you are someone who lives underneath the moon, okay? And the moon has cycles. And, when we think about seasons and we think about trees and we think about plants and butterflies and all these things, it's like, none of those things are just on and producing and go 24/7. We're not meant to live that way. For whatever reason, humans nowadays in 2025, we've been conditioned to just be on all the time. And most living beings are not that way. And so I actually ended up downloading this app on my phone after reading that book. And I'll have to like look up to see what it's called, but I think I literally just got on the app um search and just searched like moon cycles app so that I would know where we're at with the moon. And right now we are approaching, or maybe we're in a full moon right now. I don't know. I need to see, I need to look. But anyways, I know that like full moon energy is super strong. Things can get a little crazy around a full moon. um and so when I was weaning, one of my friends who lives here in Huntington, she was like, "Have you ever thought about lining up your weaning with the Farmer's Almanac?" And I was like, "I've heard of that, but I have never like actually tried to do that with anything. I'm not like an astrology person. I've never really thought about looking to the stars and the moon and the sky and all those things to make any decisions or plan or schedule anything in my life." And so she was like, "Okay, well, I'm about to explain this Farmer's Almanac to you because you need to try to go out of town like when the Farmer's Almanac, claims that it's the best time to wean your baby." So if you missed it, I went on a solo trip. I would talked about it in previous episodes, but I went on a solo trip back in June so that I could work on weaning our 2-year-old because I was like 18 weeks pregnant and I was like, I got to wean him, right? So I ended up lining up this solo trip with the moon cycles and with the Farmer's Almanac. And also, when I came back from my trip, a lot of people told me to use like, it's maybe like too much information, but people told me to like use hot sauce on my boobs. And I was like, yeah, that's not gonna happen. Like, there's never a world where I would do that to my baby. Like, you know, just to get him to not want to nurse. Like, that's cruel to me. And so I put Band-Aids on instead. And I just kind of told him, like, we have boo-boos. We're not gonna like touch or, whatever, because we don't want to hurt mama. And so it almost like made him like sort of be compassionate, like, oh, like mommy has boo-boos, we don't want to hurt her, whatever. And yeah, I went on that little trip that was like 3 days long, and it was the best trip, ever, because I was able to decompress and unwind and plan for my business and my future and really process being pregnant with a third baby and just take a step back. And when I came back, my baby was all weaned up and he didn't nurse anymore after that. And so if you are in the process of trying to wean a baby, I encourage you to first off read the book Do Less by Kate Northrup. It's amazing. Also, maybe start to dabble in the moon cycles and see how to line up your energy and the things you're working on in your life with the moon cycles. And also maybe look into the Farmer's Almanac and use Band-Aids if you are trying to wean. But anyways, that was like a whole spiel that I wanted to talk about in the previous episode. And I just sort of, my brain just goes off on tangents and you never really know when she's going to come back down to earth and when she's going to flutter back. But anyway, so another thing that I kind of talked about in the previous episode was the importance right now of, for me, leaning into the things in my work that feel right and the things that don't feel right. So as you'll learn today, I have about 9 different ways that I can make money in the whole like umbrella realm of Little Yellow Door. So a lot of people just think of Little Yellow Door as like a vintage reselling shop that is a physical store in Huntington, Tennessee. And it's really so much more than that. Like I have the storefront, I have the physical retail space, but I feel like there are so many other avenues and ways that I share on socials and ways that I have income. And so, I'm sharing this episode today because if you are a creative person or you're someone who is wanting to start dabbling in making your own money, this is what I've done over the past, but I've built it slowly, over the past how many ever years since 2019. And it's like I will start one thing, and once I kind of get good at it and master it, then I build on then I start the next thing. So I'm not sitting here telling you that if you are starting a business or you're wanting to start a business that you should dive into 9 income revenue streams at one time. I am not saying that, trust me. And also, like, I am not a licensed business coach by any means, by any stretch of the imagination. So, like, legally, you might not want to take advice from me, but again, I'm just here I'm here sharing my story, sharing my experiences. I'm sharing what has worked for me in the past and what has not worked for me. And so, one thing that I did want to touch on is that, a lot of times, like, really big gurus and really big, super smart marketing and business people, they might say, like, do not have your eggs in 9 different baskets. You know what I mean? Some will say don't have all your eggs in one basket. And it can be, there's a lot of like mixed reviews and mixed advice out there in the business world regarding, like, should you just focus on one thing, or should you focus on 5 things, or should you focus on 9 things? Like, what is the best advice? And my advice is focusing on one thing at a time, taking the time to build that, taking the time to understand how it works. And that, like, for me, my project that I'm building right now is this podcast, right? Obviously, I have 9 other projects that I've worked on in the past that I have built over time. And, but I don't move on to the next thing until I get super kind of in a rhythm with with the first thing I was working on. But another thing I will say is that in the past, how many ever months I've been pregnant, 7 months, I have really started to really think about those 9 income streams and what is serving me right now in my life, what is not serving me right now in my life, what is sustainable, what is scalable. All of those things are the things that I'm thinking about in my brain basically 24/7. So yes, today you will hear of the 9 ways that I make money. No, I'm not saying that in the future I will always have these 9 things, So anyways, we will kind of get into all that. Another thing that I talked about in the previous episode that I kind of just left hanging and I never really finished speaking on it was I was talking about how in the beginning of this year, in the beginning of 2025, I was really, really, really diving headfirst into creating an online course in social media. So for the past 4 years, maybe even longer than that, I have been teaching social media classes in person. So, like, I'll have workshops at my store. People will physically come who are small business owners, or maybe they're not even small business owners. They just want to know how to create a reel or whatever. And they'll come and they'll listen to me talk about social media and, like, how to use it and the importance of it and content pillars and just all those types of things. So I've been doing that for about 4 years. And at the beginning of this year, I was really diving into the whole idea of making an online course to teach social media so that I could teach it to multiple people, because every time I would have one of these classes and one of these, people would say, can you just record it and send me the recording and I'll pay you for the recording? Well, I've never done that because, like, if I'm going to sell a recording of me teaching something, I want it to be, like, really organized and really kind of, like, concise. And I just have never really felt good about filming me talking on a stage or filming me talking and then sending that to somebody and charging them for it, because I feel like when you're not in the physical class, like, you don't get out of it what you would if you were in the physical class. Anyway, so in the beginning of this year, I was doing a lot of, like, one-on-one calls with people, and a lot of these calls were free because I was really just trying to get a gauge of the main pain points and the main questions that people have about social media, so that I could put those pain points in my course so that I could actually help people. But after I got pregnant and I was so sick, and, I've been in and out of, doctor's appointments this entire pregnancy. If you missed it, I have a blood clot in my leg. Like, there's just been so much that's been going on health-wise for me during this pregnancy. And I really started to get clear on the things that I want to move forward with in this business and what I don't want to move forward with in this business, and the things that matter to me and the things that don't matter to me. And something that I'm learning is that, like, teaching people about social media, man, social media these days, you guys, I know we all have a love-hate relationship with it. I have a love-hate relationship with it. If it weren't, I tell people all the time, if it weren't for Instagram, bless, I would not have a business, because that's where I built my business. That's where my customers hang out. That's where my audience hangs out. But, here recently, the algorithm has just gotten so insane and so unpredictable that, I could spend 2 or 3 hours working on a piece of content and it'll be viewed by literally 1,000 people. And some of those viewers aren't even people that even care about me, or they're not even followers, or they don't care about my content, and they're not planning on following me. You know what I mean? It's just, but then sometimes I can spend 2 seconds on a piece of content and it will get 1.4 million views. Like it makes no sense. There's no consistency to it. It's actually extremely frustrating. And I know that a lot of small business owners out there are really struggling with like their relationship with social media. So something that I have figured out is that I really, like, yes, I am still posting on social media, but I am wanting to start diving more in and putting more of my time into long form content. So, if you're not sure what long form content is, it's anything that requires you to pay attention or listen for longer than 7 seconds or 3 seconds. Sometimes on social and like Reels and TikTok and stuff, like you pay attention for 3 seconds and then you scroll on to the next thing, because there's so many things on social media that are like, you want to pay attention to the next thing. Our attention spans are just so short. And so recently I've kind of just been diving more into long form content, which is like blog posts or, podcasting, things that are going to last longer, things that are going to keep our attention longer, and things that actually like mean something. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that my social media posts don't mean anything, but what I'm doing right now, speaking into this microphone, it feels so much more meaningful and so much more sustainable and long lasting than, a reel that maybe half of you will see and then you'll scroll on to the next thing. You know what I'm saying? And so when I started to really get quiet with myself, again, on my solo trip, I started to get quiet with myself, and I just started realizing, like, I don't think I want to build an online course around social media, because I'm frustrated with social media right now. And I know everybody is frustrated with social media right now. And also the rules and all the like trends and everything, it just changes from day to day. And like, I don't want to spend money and time building an online course teaching people how to, use social media, whenever literally that could change in the next 2 months. That could change in the next 4 months. It could change tomorrow. Like, we don't own Instagram and we don't own TikTok and we don't own Facebook. So ultimately, another form, of long form content that I have been trying to pour myself into a little bit more is email marketing. Like, I've tried to learn. I'm not the best at it. I'm still learning that whole process too. As you can tell, I am a work in progress. Like, nothing I do is super clean. Everything I do is a little bit hairy, a little bit messy, but like, at least I am committing to being a learner. At least I'm in the game and I'm in the arena and I'm in there trying to figure out how to make these things work, because I firmly believe in my business, and I believe that it will be long lasting and that like I'm in it for the long haul. My business might look different this year than it does next year. It might look different today than it did 7 years ago. And it does look different today than it did 7 years ago. But that's the beauty of it. Like, that's the cool thing. And like, I'm allowed to change my mind and I'm allowed to pivot. That's one thing that I always want to teach you guys on this podcast, is you are allowed to change your mind and you are allowed to pivot. And if you're doing one thing for 7 years, doesn't mean that you have to do that for the next 7 years. And so, like I said, I am doing a lot of this really messy. I am learning email marketing, because with email and with an email list, I actually own those. I own that. I'm in control of that. It's not an algorithm. It's not some big, tech company like Instagram or Meta or whatever that owns it. Like, my email list is mine. And so if you're not on my email list, and you are a fan of anything that I create, I encourage you to get on my email list. I can drop a link for you in the show notes for you to join my email list. But anyways, all that to say is listen to what your gut is telling you when you might be at like a crossroads in your business. Another thing recently, and I'll talk more about this when I talk about income streams, but another thing recently that I have just had to get really honest with myself on, and I talked a little bit about this before, but so the linking stuff all the time, or like, here's the link to this couch. Here's the link to this dress. Here's the link to these shoes. Here's the, like, I'm just like, okay, I get it. I love all those things. I love a good, beautiful couch. I love a good, beautiful dress, but encouraging people, like the overconsumption and the always encouraging people to just like click my link and buy, like it just doesn't feel aligned with me right now. And I'm not saying that I'm going to completely stop doing that, because there are a lot of people in my direct messages and my DMs on Instagram that are like, hey, will you send me the link to those tennis shoes? Or hey, and obviously when people ask for things, I'm going to deliver and I'm going to give you what you ask for. But with that being said, a lot of people, might be wondering, or maybe you're not wondering, or sometimes I wonder myself. I'm like, why am I not trying to get more like brand deals? Because, I do have a brand deal with 2 Pages curtains. We have 2 Pages curtains in our house. We absolutely love them. They are probably the most high-end thing that's in my house, and they're such high quality. And, I have a brand deal with them so that, if I ever post a link for 2 Pages curtains, if you click that link and you order through my link, I get a commission for it. So it's like, basically, I am encouraging you to use a product, and then you click the link and I get paid, for promoting them, essentially for promoting something that I love. And I genuinely do love these curtains. Another thing that I have a partnership with is Wildbird. So like if you're a mom and you're familiar with like the Wildbird slings or the Wildbird like carriers or whatever, I have a partnership with them. Again, it's a product that I used myself before ever even like thinking about promoting it. That is one thing about me. I will always be a user of the product first, and I will actually enjoy the product before I share about it. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is I feel like that is an avenue that I could really like take off with. There are like wallpaper companies out there, because this room back here behind me, if you're watching on YouTube, it's painted like a tan color. It's called London Stone by Benjamin Moore, and it is the prettiest color in the right rooms. But in my mud room, this area back here, I don't love it. It's like a little muddy. It doesn't really do anything for the space whatsoever. And so I really want a wallpaper in there. And so, I am like, okay, well, I should be reaching out to all these like wallpaper companies to try to get, to collab or whatever, or get a partnership. And I don't know, like that type of work to me right now just doesn't feel super exciting. It doesn't feel super aligned. And I'll tell you why. One of the reasons that I love my business is because I work for myself and I make my own hours and I'm my own boss, and I don't have to answer to a dang person if I don't want to. Now, when you start getting into sponsorships and you start getting into ads and all that stuff, like, when you create the content, you have to follow a certain regimen. You have to post so many times. You have to include so many things in your reel. Like it can be really regimented. And, it's basically somebody sending you an email that says, okay, here's your homework. You have to do boom, 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 boom. You have to post this many times. It literally feels like a syllabus, like a classroom syllabus. It feels like a homework assignment. And, that may be what a lot of people love, but I am not really the type of person who just like wants to be told what to do all the time. And so, maybe there will be a day down the line where I'm like, you know what? I think I really do want to immerse myself in this whole that would be more of like an influencer type world. But right now, that doesn't feel good to me. That doesn't feel exciting to me. It doesn't feel fun to me. I don't want to be told what to do with my days. I want to do with my days what I want to do with my days. And, I may actually reach out to like a couple companies because I have a very large space that I want to be wallpapered. And I'm like, it would be kind of dope to like get this at a cheaper price. You know what I mean? But anyways, but I do not want to just be promoting products all the time. I don't think when I picture myself, like my future self, when I picture, my business in like 5 years, I picture myself doing this. Like I picture myself helping people. I picture myself having really deep conversations about things that matter. I do not picture myself constantly sharing things that you should go buy. Okay. Anyways, I kind of went off on another tangent there. Last night Will came home from work and like, okay, Will, again, my husband, he does not get, like, he's one of those people, he doesn't care, like, he's very laid back when it comes to me and my business and what I do. He is very smart when it comes to business, like, when it comes to money and all that type of stuff. Like, if you're a farmer, you kind of have to be. And, I don't know if anybody who's listening, like, knows much about, like, just the farming culture right now and everything that's going on with, like, big ag. And it's actually kind of depressing and really crazy. And anyways, I'm not going to get into all that because this is not a farming podcast, but just know that it is not just rainbows and butterflies out there right now for a lot of people in agriculture. And so, anyways, my husband, he has to be very, very, very smart when it comes to investing and when it comes to like loans and like paying things off and money and customers. Like he is so smart when it comes to all that kind of stuff. And so when it comes to my business, like he doesn't really tell me what to do very much. If I come and ask him and I'm like, hey, I had this situation with this person. What should I do here? Like he's very black and white. Like he does not sugarcoat anything. He's like, this is what you need to do. And like, he's always right. I mean, he's truly always right. Like he's not my business partner because again, he has his world and I have my world, but I love having him on my team and having him on my side because like he is a very business minded person. And so anyways, last night, again, he has been in the thick of harvest, like in the thick of harvesting. He has not been home. I haven't been able to talk to him just a ton about this podcast and about this show. And so last night when he came home for dinner, I was like, hey, we kind of need to talk about this podcast situation. And I was like, these are some things that I'm talking about. These are some topics that I've touched on. Obviously I will never speak about anything that you don't want me to talk about on here because I mean, like, he didn't sign up for this, you know what I mean? Like he didn't sign up for me to be on a microphone talking to a bunch of people about my life. And like, he didn't sign up for me to just be like spilling the beans about all the things all the time. Like, that's not his personality. And so obviously I want to be like, have some integrity and like respect him in all aspects when I'm on this show. But, last night I was like, I just want to let you know that, I've talked about my family a little bit here and there. I shared about like past relationships here and there. I also shared about, there's something else that I told him I shared about. And he was like, I don't care. He was literally like, I don't care what you share about. As long as you're not like dogging people or downing people for having 9 to 5 jobs. He's like, that is like the number one thing that I don't want you to do. And I was like, word, like respect, like that is not. And if if you've listened to any of the previous episodes and that's the vibe that you've gotten, again, as of right now, as of September 10th, I have not released anything yet. My husband has not listened to anything yet. He has no clue what I've talked about in previous episodes. But he was just like, I know you and I know like your passion behind your story. And my passion behind my story really lies within the conditioning that goes on in children in elementary school, middle school, and high school where we're not teaching kids that there are other options in the world besides like, making a solid ACT score, getting into the college of your choice, taking out loans, picking a career just because you think that it's going to look good, or you think that it's going to pay well, or you think that it's like, quote unquote, what you're supposed to do. That is the problem for me. It's not people who have 9 to 5 jobs. That's not the problem. Like, to me, me and Will had this conversation last night. Like, I don't want to enter into a world. I don't want to, what am I trying to say? Like, I don't want to live in a world without people who work 9 to 5 jobs. You know what I mean? Like I said, we need people. I need nurses. I need doctors. I need people in my life who are going to take care of me, during this pregnancy and with my blood clot. Like, I need those people. We need teachers. We need people to teach our kids. We need people, we need people who work at the bank. Like, we need all of these people, and we literally wouldn't survive without them. And so, like I said, like, my husband and I were talking about it last night, and he was like, that's just my number one thing, is like, I don't want you dogging or downing anybody. And I was like, that is not my intention here. I'm not asking anyone to like do something crazy and quit your job. That's not what I'm asking you to do. What I am asking you to do is to get very, very, very clear with yourself and very, very, very honest with yourself, so that you can kind of dissect the parts of your life that you are not happy with. Okay. So what that means is, so like I've mentioned, I have a journal practice where I write down what are the things that I enjoyed yesterday or today. Like, I normally do my journal practice in the morning, and I actually have the journal template that I created. It is on my website. I can put it in the link in the show notes, but it is just a way that I ground myself and I get really honest with myself every day. And I ask myself the hard questions of like, what were the things I did yesterday that I really actually enjoyed? And what were the things that I did yesterday that I really actually hated? And it's just to try to get people to enjoy their lives a little bit more and to not be so miserable and like sad and in a funk all the time. Because I feel like I know so many people who just, they're so addicted to that story of like, life is hard, work sucks, money's hard to make, like, our economy's in the, just all the things that we are so addicted to saying, that I feel like it actually just ends up, what it is an excuse. Like, it's an excuse for you to stay stuck in your ways. It's an excuse for you to not change. It's an excuse for you to not evolve. And I'm sorry, but like, if we're not evolving, what are we doing? Right? Like, if you're not getting better, then what are we doing? What are you doing? Like, if you're like, you know what I mean? I am very committed to always learning, always bettering myself, always letting go of things that don't serve me. Always, I always say that like, life is all about unlearning and unbecoming the things that we're not, because our society and our world conditions us to be a certain way. And I feel like in your 30s, especially in your 30s, you start to kind of question all of those things that you've been taught and all of those things that you have just been programmed to believe. I feel like my 30s have just been me like disarming everything that have been preached, my whole life. Do this, don't do that. You have to make money this way. You don't have to make money this way. You have to believe in this certain thing or not this certain thing. Like, I have really started to just question everything and be like, but what does Paige believe? Like, what do I believe? What brings me joy? Not what brings somebody else joy, or not what somebody else thinks that I should be doing, or like spending my time a certain way because somebody else wants me to spend my time that way. Like, I've really gotten quiet to be like, what does Paige believe? What does Paige want? And so anyways, all that to say, this is not a 9 to 5 bashing party. And if you have a 9 to 5, again, I love that for you. I love that journey for you. We need you. We need you. And again, I don't want to live in a world without people who have 9 to 5s, but But I just want to make sure that you're being honest with yourself. And something that I did tell my husband last night, and I don't think he wanted to hear this, but I was like, okay, if somebody gets mad at me or somebody gets triggered because I am talking about the fact that there are other ways to make money in the world besides what we were always taught to believe, then like that is a mirror. That is a mirror into their own life and into their own insecurities and into their own issues, right? That is a lesson that I have learned so strongly over the past year, is that if someone is triggered by something that you say or something that you do, it is very much a mirror. It is very much a reflection of their own life and what's going on in their life. It doesn't have anything to do with you. It has absolutely nothing to do with you. If somebody gets mad at you for something, if somebody is highly triggered by something that you say, or, it's likely because of something that's going on in their own life and a reflection of their own heart. And so, and I told him that last night. I was like, if somebody's going to get mad at me about preaching about a 9 to 5, then maybe they should take a look in the mirror and like really ask themselves the hard questions of like, what in my life is making me unhappy? What in my life is bringing me down? And y'all, I get it. Like, I know that times can be tough out here. Like, I completely understand that. But that is something that I want to talk about today, of like jobs that aren't struggling right now, and jobs and careers who are booming, that's booming out there, that like, aren't necessarily struggling in 2025. And, because I do understand that like grocery prices are so high. Like, people are falling on hard times. And you guys, I will never, ever, ever sit here and like act like I'm in denial about any of that, because I believe it. I see it. I trust that. But I also believe that like you can be one of two ways. You can choose. You will always find advice. Or sorry, advice is not the word I'm looking for. You will always find evidence for whatever story you want to tell yourself. You will always find evidence for whatever story you want to tell yourself, and you will always find evidence for whatever narrative you want to play in your head. If you want to be the type of person that's like, work sucks, money doesn't grow on trees, like, we have to work all these hard jobs out here in order to survive because life is hard, we're never going to get ahead, we're always going to be behind. Like, if that is your mindset, you will find evidence to support that story. You will. Turn on the news. You will find evidence to support that story. But if on the other hand, you have a different mindset where you're like, I am going to fully believe that everything is working out for the good of those who, love God. I fully believe that, there's a higher power that's in control. I fully believe that everything happens for a reason. I fully believe that my feet are planted where they should be right now. Like, I am where I'm supposed to be, and I am working on the projects that I'm supposed to be working on, and good things are coming my way, and, nobody's going to tell me different. Like, that is, if that's the story and the narrative that you want to have in your head, then you will also find evidence to support that story. So it's like, what kind of person do you want to be? You know what I mean? Like, which side of the fence do you want to sit on? Because one of them sounds really miserable and one of them sounds really great. So it's like, you get to choose, and nobody gets to tell you which side of the fence that you get to sit on. You get to decide that. You know what I mean? Like, you are in control of that. So you get to decide which story and which narrative that you believe. And so, like, I just want to say that obviously speech pathology was not for me. I tried, and basically I ended up getting that degree because one of my friends freshman year of college. I will never forget it. We were sitting in my dorm room that was so messy, and she was like, "Why don't you just come take speech pathology classes with me?" And I was like, "Okay, sounds fun. Like, at least we'll be in the same classes." Like that's literally like how I decided to be a speech pathologist. And it's like, no, 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 no. That is not the way things should have happened. That's not the way things should have gone down. And like I ended up, you know, checking all the boxes, getting the degree, getting the grad school, whatever, like all the things, getting all the letters behind my name. And then in my 20s, I completely had a crash out and was like, this is awful. I hate my job. What am I supposed to do now? I have student loan debts. Like, you know, I did everything that I was supposed to do because I was told that I was going to make bank. And here I am at not making bank. I'm working in a school system making I don't even know if I was making $34,000 a year, you guys. Like, what? I'm just like, where's this bank that I was supposed to be making? You know what I mean? Like, what in the world? And so, I don't know. Like, it's all very messed up, in my opinion, how our society just like pushes us to go to college. And I actually just listened to a podcast episode like this morning, and it was all about the 9 lies of like that college, or that the world tries to tell us about going to college. And something that I like, it was the most interesting episode. I can also link that in the show notes. I can't remember like who it's by. I really don't remember the name. Or it was like a guy who wrote a book about like the lies that college teaches us. And it was such an interesting episode. But like the number one thing they talked about is how college is a for-profit organization. Like they are there to make money. Colleges are there to make money. And so, you know, they're like, no matter what you do, no matter if you make your classes, you make your grades, like they're gonna get their paper. You know what I mean? Like they're gonna get their money, right? And so I just think that those are important conversations that we need to be talking about, and that we need to be making our high school children aware of, and our middle school children aware of, and just really starting to look into some of those lies and look in, again, question everything, you guys. Don't just follow what somebody has told you to do because that's what they did for the past how many ever years. Like, ask your own questions. I don't care if it has to do with education. I don't care if it has to do with religion. I don't care if it has to do with vaccinations. I don't care if it has to do with, I don't care. Ask your own questions. Period. Okay, I'm like zipping my lips. I'm actually not zipping my lips because I've got a lot more to cover. But, you know, as far as that tangent goes, lock and key. Okay. Anyways, here we go. Now we are going to kind of dive into the 9 ways that I make money. So here we go. Okay. Number 1, and I've already kind of gone over this in other episodes, but the first way that I make money is a super obvious way. I sell vintage on Instagram, and I sell vintage in a physical storefront, a brick and mortar in a small town in Tennessee. Okay. That is really how I started out. Actually, I started out by selling art. That was my very first way of making income. If you've missed my story, I made watercolor cards at the end of grad school. I sold them for $5 a pop. It would take me like 45 minutes to make one. But I was so proud of that watercolor card. I would sell it for a whopping $5. And again, I was so upset. That's when I learned, oh, I can make something with my own 2 hands and then like post it somewhere, whether it be Facebook, Instagram, whatever. And somebody can literally Venmo me, money, and I can have the money in my account in the next hour. That's crazy, because I've been conditioned to believe that I have to, take this test and, get this internship and get this whatever fellowship. And, how many ever years down the road, after you've taken all these things and you've made all these grades and you've had these certain, whatever letters behind your name, then you can finally make a paycheck to maybe start paying off your student loans. But no, something that I learned like at the very, very, end of grad school was I could put some paint on a piece of watercolor paper, and I can sell that baby on Instagram and make $5 in about 5 minutes. You know what I mean? Like, after painting it, after it took 45 minutes to paint it. But I've obviously started to work a lot smarter now after, 10 years. I've learned how to work smarter. But anyways, so I started off selling art. That was a way that I made money. And then I started selling vintage. And so, that means going to estate sales, going into people's homes, going into Goodwills, going into antique stores, going into, flea markets and buying things for cheap and then flipping those things and selling them online for profit. So I started out on Instagram. I started out on Instagram stories, and then it slowly, inch by inch, brick by brick, it became a brick and mortar storefront that I run now. And I'm actually only open 3 days a week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So those are the days that people can physically walk in and buy things. But other days of the week, I'm selling online. I'm selling on Instagram. Again, I really need to start leveraging my email marketing a little bit more, just in case Instagram were to go flop one day, because I don't know an Instagram. So, okay, selling vintage on Instagram stories and in my store. The second way, and also selling art. So I guess that's 2 ways. So the third way that I make money is we have an event space in my storefront. So half of my store, it's a huge old auto body shop. Half of my store is a retail space. Half of my store is an event space. The event space is rented out almost every weekend. And we charge, I want to say $250 for 4 hours. That includes, so basically it's really supposed to be $125 an hour. So it's like, if you have a 2-hour party, I give you the hour beforehand to set up and the hour after to clean up. And so it ends up being 4 hours for $250. Anyway, that's kind of a confusing way to price it, but that's the way it made the most sense in my mind. And also, again, you guys, we live in a rural area. Like, we don't live in Nashville. We don't live in LA. We don't live, like, obviously, if you live in a place like that, if you own an event space, you can charge way more for your space. But I live in a rural area, and so that's kind of the going rate of, event spaces around here. Our town does not have very many event spaces. We literally so our town is, again, like 5,000 people. We have an event space on the square, and it's kind of like a nicer vibe. Like, that's kind of where you would go if you wanted to have a small wedding, or if you wanted to have like a really nice bridal shower, or if you kind of wanted to have like more of the fancy, like tea party type vibe, that's where you would go. But I love that my space is totally different from that space, and it's a totally different vibe, because you come to my space, you come to our event space if you want to have something that's a little bit more laid back. It's a little rustic. Again, it's in an old auto body shop. It's kind of like, I don't want to say the word hipster, but like we have the big, it's like one of those big arrow, like marquee signs that lights up, and with every party you can like put up a different slogan for, happy birthday whoever, or, you can put whatever little slogan that like is catchy or whatever for your event or for your party. So, but within that space, not only do we have like baby showers, and we have the last party that we had in there was like a barbecue for a wedding. There's all sorts of things that people have done in that space. But I also utilize that space as almost like a teaching space. So I teach art classes for kids. I'll also do them for adults, but and I can kind of get into that, but I will teach paint classes and kind of art classes for kids for birthday parties. So that's something that I charge for. I also have taught social media classes and like business workshops in that space. So it is really nice to just have that extra big room to spread out, have people come in, have people collaborate, make art, whatever. Now, this goes into following what you like and what you don't like. This goes into back to my journaling that I do every single day. What is something that lights you up, and what is something that you are, dreading, or what is something that you're not, that you don't enjoy. So for the longest time, when I would picture myself, like, probably 10 years ago, when I would picture myself in the future, I would picture myself teaching kids classes, like teaching art classes, teaching paint classes, all that sort of thing. And I made that dream come true. And we literally have the space for it now. But something that I've learned is that I don't just love doing it. And I will tell you why, because it is not the most lucrative. It's not the most lucrative form of what I do, because once you pay for the canvases and you pay for the paints and you pay for the brushes and you pay for the aprons and you pay for, just all the things that it takes to teach an art class, you know, I don't charge $1 million for these classes. And so I just don't really end up making that much money. And it also takes a lot of your time. It takes a lot of your time it takes a lot of my time to set up the classes and to clean up the classes. And so something that I've learned is that it's not that I don't enjoy them, because I do enjoy teaching kids about painting, and I do enjoy teaching kids about art, and I do like the fact that I'm showing kids, hey, this is another way that you can make money. Hey, if you wanted to teach art classes someday, this is something that you could do to make money. Like if you wanted to open your own art studio someday, this is an avenue that you could take. Like that is the aspect of it that I do like. But as far as like having a family and having 2 boys, almost a third boy, and having a husband and having a home to take care of, and like it's like the time and the effort and the energy and the money that goes into these classes is not worth it for me right now in my phase of life. But that is not something that I've let go of. So when I first opened the garage space in, what was it? February of 2024, that's when we opened the new storefront, and that's when we opened the garage space. I was kind of coming up with ideas. I would be like, okay, we're going to have a collage party and we're going to teach collage art to adults. So, bring your friends, I'll have snacks, we'll have drinks, we'll do whatever. And so I was kind of like marketing my own classes. But again, there was a lot of setup that was going into it. There was a lot of marketing that was going into it, and it just wasn't worth the pay. And so there was another really cute class that I did one time. It was like a recycling class. So like for probably months, I collected, paper, and I collected the like toilet paper rolls, and I collected cardboard and like egg cartons. Like I collected all these things, and I basically had kids come and glue them to this big, it was like a plywood situation, and then they got to paint it. And it was, honestly, that was like the sweetest class ever. It was the sweetest class ever. It was fun, but again, it took up so much of my mental space. It took up so much of my time, and like, gosh, I don't even know how much it was per student. Like it was not near enough. You know what I mean? And like when you have a family and you have a business to run, you can't just do everything out of the goodness of your heart. I mean, you can do some things obviously out of the goodness of your heart, but when you got bills to pay, you can't. You know what I mean? And so I don't market my own classes anymore for the garage, but if somebody were to come to me and say, hey, will you teach a paint class on October 5th to teach my 10-year-old daughter how to paint a bird? I'd be like, yeah, sure. Like I'll do that. So anyways, I've already gone over the fact that I make and sell my own art. I also kind of talked about before how I don't take commissions anymore for art. I really want my own art that I make to just be an outlet. I don't want it to really feel like work. I don't want to have a bunch of orders that I fill, because I have been in a phase of my life where I had like 20 orders to fill, whether that be cards or invitations or a canvas that I was painting for somebody. Like commissions are not my thing. I learned pretty quickly that commissions really stress me out. Because if somebody is going to buy a piece of my art, I just want it to be something that I made and it spoke to them in some sort of way. Commissions are hard, because if somebody comes to you and they're like, hey, I want this type of abstract painting, but I don't want those colors. I want these colors because I want these colors to match my house. Okay, well then you make the abstract painting and you put all this time into it and you put all this effort into it and you send them a photo of it and they're like, can you take the blue out? Can you put some more brown? Like, can you put some more tan? And then it's like, wait, but when does this piece become not Paige Espey anymore? Like, when does this piece start to not feel like me anymore? And I can talk about all this more, because something that I really encourage, even people who have started to like make and sell their pottery full time. I encourage them, like, in the beginning, take whatever jobs that you have to in order to pay your bills. But when you get to a place of like this, I'm feeling burnt out, I'm feeling like this is not enjoyable anymore, just make what you want to make. Make what you want to make. And if somebody feels called to it and they buy it, great. If not, that's okay. Then you can maybe take on a commission here and there. Like it's all sort of a balance. But so I make art and I sell my art, but I don't take commissions. I sell vintage on Instagram and in my storefront. I also teach classes in our garage space, and we also rent out our garage space for parties. Now, I will say this about the garage space. Something that we talked about doing for a really long time, we talked about Airbnb. Okay, we talked about renting out our old house that we used to live in. So we used to live in a 1930s 2-bedroom, 1-bath. It was the cutest freaking little farmhouse you've ever seen in your life. We renovated it. It was adorable. Well, after we had our second baby, we decided to buy this house that we live in now. This is a much bigger space. And so a lot of people were asking, like, what are you going to do with your old house? What are you going to do with your old house? And I was so dead set on having it be an Airbnb. Like, it was like a dream of mine. I was like, oh my gosh, like how, like it, I had this whole vision in my head of like, it can be like the Little Yellow Door Airbnb. Like we can have the Little Yellow Door store, but we can also have the Little Yellow Door Airbnb that you stay in. And once we moved out of that house, I was like, you know what? I don't even like pick the weeds now, and I live in this home. What makes you think that I'm going to pick the weeds and like maintain this home when I don't even live in it? And I also realized that people charge, again, we live in a rural area, but like people charge what, like $250 a night, $200 a night, I don't know, $300 a night to stay in an Airbnb, and then you have to go in the next day and you have to be a house cleaner. You have to go wash the sheets. You have to clean the toilet. And there's no telling what like sort of thing your guests are going to be doing in there. I mean, I've heard some horror stories, and also I would be the type of person who wanted to curate the Airbnb with all the cutest vintage in the world. And if one of my pieces got broken, like I would be so distraught if that happened. And so there was just a lot of things that started popping up here and there. And I was like, yeah, I'm definitely not, I just don't think I want to charge $250 a night to have to immediately go in and change beds and do all that stuff. And like, I do have a friend here who like has a couple Airbnbs. And I asked her about them one day. I was like, how's it going? Are you liking it? She was like, no, absolutely not. Like I'm literally a house cleaner. Like that is what my job is. And again, nothing wrong with house cleaners, but if you don't want to be a house cleaner, if that's not what you signed up to do, like for me, if I had an Airbnb, I would like want to be the person that decorated it and curated it and marketed it and did all the fluffy, pretty, all the cutesy things. I wouldn't want to be the person that came in and like did the laundry and had to clean the toilet. Like I wouldn't want to do that. That is not what I would be interested in. Again, we're not knocking people like I'm not better than anyone. I'm absolutely not. I freaking love our house cleaner. Like our house cleaners that come to our house, I'm obsessed with them. Like they are the best house cleaners ever. And also I had a girl who was kind of helping me with some stuff at the store. And I was kind of like encouraging her to become a house cleaner because you can like make your own hours and you can say yes. You can say yes to houses. You can say no to houses. You can be in charge of your own schedule. And like, honestly, housekeepers like make a lot of money. Like, I mean, I keep hearing of like, I actually met somebody this past week who was cleaning houses in New Orleans, I think she said, or maybe it was Atlanta, and she made $60 an hour. Okay. So like if you like to clean and you like to pick up after people and you like that sort of thing, and you're the type of person who likes to like stick in your headphones, get in the zone, you get a system down and you go for it, like, and you like to do that type of thing and you like to clean, that is a way that you can make money. You know what I mean? Like, again, but what I was saying is, I did not, if I'm going to have an Airbnb, I would want to hire out the cleaning, but we just don't have enough house cleaners in this area. Like a lot of people who live, again, a lot of people who like live near Nashville or live in bigger cities, they have like cleaning companies that can come in and clean your Airbnb very religiously after your guests leave. So you can kind of be hands off. You can kind of be like remote, not dealing with the Airbnb. But here, if I was going to have one, I was going to have to be managing it and also doing the cleaning. And I just didn't want to do that. And then I figured out that, oh, if we have a garage space at the store that we rent out for parties, then I can charge the same amount for one party that I would charge for a night of an Airbnb. And like, I don't, like, all I have to do is sweep the floor, wipe down the tables, change out the big sign, and make sure that it's like picked up for the next party. You know what I mean? Like, there's just a lot less cleaning that went into it. And again, I'm in this phase and in this era of my life of trying to learn how to work smarter and not harder. And so given the choice of like, do you want to have a home that you can rent out to make money, on a short-term basis like Airbnb, or if you want to have a garage space that you rent out for parties, which one will take the least amount of time, which one will take the least amount of effort. And I'm not saying that like keeping the garage clean is an easy task, because it actually, I mean, it's a big room that has to be swept, that has to be picked up, that has to be wiped down. And we do that every week. And so that is another way that Little Yellow Door makes money. Okay. The next way that I make money is through links and like to know it. I have already sort of touched on this a little bit in this episode, but if you are not familiar with the app called Like to Know It, it is basically an app where creators can share. It's like a kind of an app for influencers, but it's basically just where you share products that you already like. You share products that you're already using, and you can create a specific link so that you get commission for sharing that project or for that product. So it's kind of like an affiliate type situation. So a lot of times I will share links to like books that I'm reading, or I will share links to makeup that I'm using, or I'll share links to like, I do share some home decor, but honestly, like so much of the home decor that I promote and that I use and that I stand by is vintage and antique. But I mean, obviously there are some things that people don't want to buy vintage. Like most of the time people don't really want their bed sheets to be vintage. You know what I mean? Like people don't really want their towels to be vintage. Like there's certain things in people's homes, and a lot of people don't even like vintage. So like, if you're into home decor, I do share links over on my Instagram. Something else that I've kind of started doing, or that I've tried to start doing, is whenever we moved into our home, slowly sharing each room in our home, like on social media or in a blog post. And because obviously all the time, if I share our home, I get questions. What's this paint color? Where's that light from? Where's your couch from? Where'd you get those pillows? And instead of always, because for the longest time, y'all, I shared all that information for free. I would immediately just DM somebody back and be like, I got the pillows from H&M. And then that would be it. That'd be it. Like I would answer their question and that'd be it. But finally, I really started to realize, wait, like if I can create a link on Like to Know It, like you can become a creator on Like to Know It. And you basically just get on there and it's kind of like an Instagram, but you make your post and you search for whatever item it is that you bought that was new. Um, Obviously, like you can't link vintage items and stuff like that. You can link, I mean, you can link some things on Etsy. Like, if I had a vintage like candlestick holder or whatever, and I didn't have any candlestick holders in my store that I could like be like, hey, I actually have 5 of these in my store right now, then I could get on Etsy and look up brass vintage candlestick holders, and I could link that onto my Like to Know It. And then if somebody orders through your link, then you get a commission for it. So that's another way that I make money. And I'm not saying that like it's enough money to like pay every bill in the world, but like it is nice to know that if somebody is already asking you for something and you're already sharing about something that you love regardless, you might as well get paid for it. You might as well monetize it. You know what I mean? And I try to keep my links and everything that I share. I'm not really one of those people who just goes out and like buys things just so that I can link them. Does that make sense? Like that is what you would call a haul. So like when people say that, oh, we're doing a Shein haul, or we're doing a Temu haul, or we're doing, like, sometimes people will strictly go to those websites to order things so that they can post them and post the links. I sort of come at it from a way of like, okay, I already have this bedspread on my bed. I already have people asking about the bedspread or the headboard or whatever, so I might as well monetize my answer. And like, so when somebody asks me, where'd you get this? What brand is that? Instead of just giving them the answer, it's nice to just shoot them a link. And if they actually order through the link that you send them, you make money off of that. Do you get what I'm saying? Like it's almost like a no-brainer to me, and it is also wild to me how many people don't understand how affiliate links work. Like, so just this week, for example, I am not one who normally shares about makeup. I don't normally share about skincare products, but I'm not like a big makeup girly. But last week, my sister-in-law, we had a party at my house. It was a baby shower, and my sister-in-law came to the party with like the best lips ever. And everybody was like, what is on your lips? Where'd you get that? And she's like, girl, I learned about it on TikTok. Like, it's drugstore lipstick. It's the best. And so I went to Walmart and I got the lip liner, and I got the lipstick, and I got the lip gloss. And I shared about it on my Instagram story, and I linked all 3 of those products. And y'all, when I tell you, I think that Instagram story had like 700 clicks or something insane. Like, it was something crazy. And there's so many people that reached out that were like, girl, I ordered the lip stuff through your link. I'm obsessed, like blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm like, wait, should I be a beauty influencer now? Like, no, but, obviously, like, I could have just answered that and not made any money off of it. But then I also had somebody reach out to me and say like, wait, so if I click the link that you shared and I order through that, then that helps you? And I'm like, yeah, that's how affiliate links work. Like that's how all these types of that's how influencers make their money. Okay. And again, I don't feel super aligned. I don't know. Right now in my life, I don't feel super aligned being a quote unquote influencer. Because again, when I picture myself in the future, when I picture myself 5 to 10 years down the road, I don't picture myself making content for other companies. I picture myself doing what I'm doing right now, talking to people about important things. So anyway, I've already kind of talked about all that. But so yeah, look up Like to Know It if you're not familiar. And also brand deals, like that, all this kind of ties in together. Brand deals is another way that I make money. So like if somebody orders through my link, whenever I post about curtains, like my 2 pages, curtains is a specific company that I have a partnership with. If you order through my link, then I get paid. I get get a commission for that, for sharing something for their company. Okay, I've already kind of touched on all that and I don't want to repeat myself. So the next way that I make money is through digital products. Okay, you guys, I think this is something that I'm going to be diving more into in the future. This is something that I can see. This is aligned with where I think I want my business to go because I feel like I have so much to share. I feel like I have so much to teach. I feel like I could host a workshop every single day for small business owners and for moms and for people who want to figure out different ways to make money outside of whatever their traditional job is or whatever. Like, I feel like I just have a lot to share. And so last year I created an ebook. And y'all, it's like 165 pages long. Like, I mean, I really went in on this ebook. Like, I think it took me 4 months to write it, and it's called Thrift and Get Paid. And it's all about how I have basically built a business around thrifting. I mean, it's all about how I source my items, how I clean my items, how I stage my items, where I sell them, how I sell them, like literally anything you could ever want to know about reselling vintage or selling vintage online. It's in this ebook. And so the ebook is only like, I mean, the price point is not high. Like, I don't even remember how much. It's like $27 or $29 or something like that. Like, and it's 165 pages long. Like, it is, and it's all of my exact information and how I've built my business. And so if you are somebody who sells vintage or you're somebody who's interested in that world and interested in that realm, you should grab the ebook because, I mean, again, it's all the information that I know and it's all packaged into one little ebook. So that is considered a digital product. So that is something that you create once and you can sell it over and over and over and over and over again. Like, y'all, I was writing this ebook a year ago. I started writing it in July, August, September, October, November, and I launched it in November. So I wrote it once, and what is today? We're in September, and I'm still getting orders. I'm still getting Shopify notifications. I mean, they're random. The sales can be random, but a lot of times, like, if I share about that ebook on my Instagram, somebody will click the link and they'll buy it, and that's $30 in my pocket. You know what I mean? And so, again, it is working smarter, not harder. It's making something one time and selling it over and over and over again. So, selling digital products, if that's something that you're interested in, shoot me a message. I can talk to you about it. Another digital product that I've recently created is my daily journal guide that I released a couple weeks ago. And I have been talking about it a little bit here on this podcast, but whenever I was on my solo trip, again, I had so many revelations on my solo trip. I had so many realizations, so many things that I was like, wait, that's the type of stuff I need to be talking about. And that's the type of stuff that I need to be teaching, is like teaching people how I've made business decisions over the years and how I kind of keep myself balanced and how I keep myself on track. And truly, y'all, this journal that I put together, I developed it 5 years ago, and I've just been using it like almost every day for 5 years. And it is truly like how I keep myself on track. And so I decided that I would create, the journal template, and I would kind of explain each section. And really, like, I just did that because, like, it's something that has truly helped me so much over the years of being like a business owner and being someone who is really scattered, can be really scattered a lot of the time. It is something that has helped me a lot. And so I just wanted to share it with other people. But I was like, again, I might as well make money if I'm going to share it. I mean, I do share free things all the time, everywhere. I give so much value, especially on my email list, but I literally just decided to charge for it because it's like $11, and I'm like, come on, like, you probably spend $11 at Starbucks every day. Like, it's not going to hurt you to buy a journal template that I have used myself. It's worked for me. And also just so it's not circulating everywhere all over the internet. Like, I just feel like sometimes it can be kind of important to put a paywall up or whatever. But anyways, so digital products, that is something that I'm probably going to be diving more into in the coming years and in the coming months. Okay. The next way I make money is through teaching classes. I kind of already went over that. Art classes, social media classes. I'm hoping in the future that I will possibly maybe be creating some digital courses. Um, I'm not really sure, again, if I will be creating a digital course about social media because that is something that I started doing at the beginning of this year and it just didn't feel super aligned. It didn't feel right. So that is something that I will maybe be focusing on soon, but not right now because, again, we are focusing on one thing at a time. We are focusing on one project at a time. Right now, my project is my podcast. And y'all, honestly, I am not planning on monetizing this podcast. Yes, obviously I would like to monetize it in the future, but right now I'm just getting it rolling. I'm getting the episodes out there. I'm getting the information out there. And if it ends up being something that I could scale and monetize, then that is lovely, but I'm not going to force it. But right now, it's just something that, again, I feel very called to do, regardless if it makes money or not. So, anyways, okay. And then the next way, something that I kind of skipped over, I meant to talk about earlier, is design projects. So, obviously, when like you own a storefront and you have furniture and decorations and all these sorts of things for interiors that are for sale, and like also when I share pictures of my home and the things that we have in our home, I will get messages all the time asking me to come style or a space in somebody's home, in somebody's office, whatever. So I used to take on a lot more. Again, it's kind of like the commissions with the art type thing. I'll take on a project if it feels right, but if it doesn't feel right, I'm not taking it on. You know what I mean? Like I used to say yes to every project. I used to be like, sure, I'll drive to Memphis at 6 p.m. after working my speech therapy job to come decorate your living room. I literally did that one time for a friend. Like, and she's like one of our best friends. But I had like gotten off of work as a speech therapist at a school system, got off at 3 o'clock, loaded up my car, drove basically to Memphis, and I decorated her living room at like 6 p.m. And this is obviously before we had kids. But like, I've been doing that for years, going into people's spaces, basically just and I've gotten better at it over the years. Like now I kind of approach it from more of like a designer standpoint. Like now I'm a lot more professional about it. I will create like a design board on Canva and I will send you options of like different rugs that you like and things like that. Whereas like back in the day I'd just be like, I'm bringing whatever thrifted items I got in my guest bedroom and we're going to make your living room look cuter than it was yesterday. You know what I mean? Like things have evolved over the years with my design projects. Again, I'm very, 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 very picky about what design projects I will take on. And so, and honestly, right now, for the most part, my answer is no. When somebody messages me and says, "Hey, are you taking on new clients?" I will say no, just because I'm about to have a baby and things are just crazy right now. Again, working smarter, not harder. The design project thing is something that has kind of ebbed and flowed through the years. Like, I was doing it really hardcore, probably from 2020, 21, 22. But then when I got pregnant with Lake, when I'm pregnant, it's really hard for me to do design projects just because of like loading furniture and all those types of things. So when I got pregnant with Lake, I sort of stopped doing design projects for a little while. But then after I had him and I got back on my feet, then I took on a couple of projects. And one thing, if you're interested in getting into this space of like helping people with their homes and helping people style and all those things, really start to get an idea of the type of client that you would like to have. So, this would be like your ideal customer or your customer avatar or whatever word they use in the business world. But so I think I made a blog post a couple years ago and I outlined like, if you want me to come to your house, you have to be this type of person, this type of person, this type of person, this type of person. And I literally lined it out and I outlined it. And I'm like, if you don't fit this criteria, I'm not coming to your house. Like, because I very much in the beginning, when you're first starting out, you're figuring out what types of jobs you'll take on and what types of jobs you won't take on. And there were so many times where I found myself like in situations with people who didn't trust my eye, or they didn't trust my process, or like they didn't, like, because I'm a thrifter and because I'm a reseller, they just thought that they were going to get everything for pennies on the dollar. And like, I mean, I literally had to fire somebody one time because like she would never pay me. And then I think like one day I was finally like, yo, like your payment is due. Like it's time for you to pay for what I did and for what I've offered you up to this point. And when she gave me her credit card information, it declined. And I was just like, look, sis, like we're not a match. Like I cannot move forward with this project. Again, like this is my business. Like I have a family, like I have bills. I cannot just be out here doing everything for the goodness of out of the goodness of my heart. Like I just can't. And so, I have a very strict criteria now that if you meet the criteria, then I might consider you. But if you don't meet the criteria, I just, again, you have to protect your energy. You have to protect your time. You have to work smarter and not harder. And also, you don't want to be decorating a space for somebody that like doesn't feel like it's an energetic match for you. You know what I mean? Like, if there's somebody who loves like all white everything, they love linen, they love restoration hardware, like I am not a match for them. Do you see my house? Like what in here makes you think that I would be the person that you should call to come decorate your home? You know what I mean? Like just make sure that a client is an energetic match for you. And that goes for, does not matter what kind of business you have. If you have, again, a house cleaning business, yes, I understand if you need money, like, yeah, take on whatever kind of client you want. But like, I am the type of person, if we don't energetically jive, I am not going to hire you and I'm not going to be hired by you. Like, we're just not going to work together. It's because it's like, it's not going to be fun for either one of us if we don't jive. And so anyways, that's my whole spiel on like design services. And right now, I just recently got finished with a couple of like styling opportunities. Priscilla Presley, like Elvis Presley's wife or ex-wife or whatever, she came to our town, and so I actually styled her stage. She like came and talked about like her life with Elvis and all sorts of stuff, and she actually had like a very specific type of vibe that, that for her marketing sake, she was like, we need red velvet chairs, we need this, we need that. And so I did take that job on, and I also styled a couple of like dressing rooms, green rooms in a theater in our town here in Huntingdon. I took on those jobs during pregnancy, but I also was very adamant of like, I'm not going to be the one Facebook marketplacing this furniture. Like, I'm not going to be the one driving to Nashville to pick up couches. Like, I'll send you a link. Like I told the girl who was in charge of it, I was like, I'll send you a link to a couch on Polly and Bark, but like, I'm not going to be driving to Nashville to pick up couches. Like that's not going to be my job. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm very straight up about like what I will do and what I won't. I also just recently, yesterday, accepted a job that I'm so pumped about, but I can't really share anything about it just yet. But it is someone who lives in Franklin. And it's like, it's almost, I feel like I kind of manifested this job, but she has shelves in her office that she needs styled. And, she wants me to come do it. So that is something that I said yes to, even though I am 32 weeks pregnant. We're going to take on that project. But anyways, all that to say, design projects is a way that I make money. Okay. The last way that I'm going to talk about, and this is something that I don't do a lot of right now. It is something that I may do more of in the future, and that is one-on-one phone calls. So again, at the beginning of this year, I did a couple of one-on-one phone calls to talk to people about their small businesses and their social medias. I feel like I know a lot about this realm of social media because I've been doing it for how many ever years. And I actually had somebody last week reach out to me on Instagram and say, like, how did you learn all this about Instagram? Like, it was somebody who was just kind of starting out. She has a storefront somewhere in Mississippi. And she was like, how did you learn how to market yourself? How did you learn how to make reels? Like, and those questions are really big questions. Like, obviously social media is it's a whole beast that you could take on. But anyways, so at the beginning of this year, I was doing one-on-one phone calls with some clients and some paid. Like after, I think I took on I want to say I took on 5 free calls. And then I was like, but if you didn't get in I was like, the first 5 people to message me back about whatever, I'll do a free call with you, a one-on-one phone call with you about your, excuse me, y'all, I have really bad indigestion. Again, 32 weeks pregnant, but, I'll do a one-on-one phone call with you about your social media. But then if you're not within those first 5 people, then I will charge you an X amount and we can talk on the phone for 30 minutes. Or we can talk on the phone for an hour, but I have to charge you, about your social media. So that is something that I did at the beginning of this year. And then I stopped doing it when I got pregnant, mainly because I was so sick and I was in bed and again, I've talked about this pregnancy 100 times. It's been pretty awful. But that is something that in the future, I think I'd like to get into more. And so when I picture my future self, I picture myself helping women, and I picture or men or whoever, if my energy feels like it matches your energy, then I think we could work together. But again, that's something that I'm figuring out. I am turning inward. I am figuring out if it's something that I want to offer in the future. But that is another way that you could make money. If you have a certain expertise, if you are a lawyer and you feel like you know a lot of information about licensing, and if you feel like you know a lot of information about the types of things that people who have small businesses, the types of things that you need to start a small business, and you're a lawyer and you feel like you could help someone with that, why not charge one-on-one for that? One-on-one phone calls for that. If you're someone who feels like you have an extensive amount of knowledge in parenting hacks and parenting skills and coaching, and as far as that goes, why not charge one-on-one for it? And so as you can see, I have a lot of ideas. I have a lot of wheels turning in my head at all times, you guys, at all times. But just, again, one of my main missions with this show is to teach you that there are other ways to make money outside of what, traditionally we have been taught. And now, again, I will also say that a lot of this is relative. If you grew up in LA, you're probably no stranger to the fact that people make money in creative ways. You're probably no stranger to the fact that people make money, being video editors or movie producers or whatever. If you grew up in LA, it's probably a no-brainer to you that people use creative ways to make money. But if you grew up in a small town in the middle of Tennessee, you might not realize that, being a virtual assistant is a way that you can make money. Being a video editor, a podcast editor, an interior designer, a content creator, a graphic designer, surface pattern design. These are all ways that people literally make money in the world that we just might not have been taught about, if you come from a rural area or a small town. Other ways that I have talked about before, this is just kind of in my world, people that I need to help me is people who install wallpaper. I literally have maybe 1, maybe 2 people in my phone that I know that install wallpaper. It's for whatever reason, it's a dying field, but at the same time, wallpaper is more popular now than it has been in 40 years. So why are there not more people out there making money installing wallpaper? You know what I mean? Also, other people that I need in my world is reupholsterers or like people who upholstery. Like that is very much a dying field. The only person that I knew that could do that was this older man who lived in Huntingdon, and he recently passed away. And after he passed away, I was like, I don't have anybody to do that for me. And obviously, as somebody who like helps people with interior spaces, like I would love to have a contact that I could just shoot and be like, hey, I have this couch that I need reupholstered. So like, if you're someone who's looking to learn a new skill, why not do that? Also, someone else that I need in my world is a professional organizer. I constantly, when I go into homes and like somebody's like, hey, I want my living room redone. I'm like, okay, well, we can't redo your living room until we organize your TV credenza that has CDs from 1998 and like 75 photo albums. You know what I mean? Like we can't do your living room until we organize all your junk. And so it's like I need professional organizers in my world. And so again, these are all just creative ways that you can make money that do not fall under the umbrella of mainstream jobs that we learn about when we're in elementary school, middle school, high school. Okay. I think I have covered everything. I think I have gone over all the 9 ways that I make money in this business. And again, I am not saying that in the future, I will always be making money in these ways. I'm not saying that I will be channeling each one of these, revenue streams for the rest of forever. But at least I know that I have these revenue streams to fall back on if things get hairy. And also, it also just really kind of answers the question of like, how does she make money? How is she even making money? You know what I mean? Like, and one thing that I wanted to say before I got off the mic is one of my biggest frustrations, and this is just me ranting for a moment. Like if you're not here for a rant, maybe just go on and turn the show off. But one of my biggest frustrations being someone who works for myself is when people think that I am just like at home and I'm not doing anything. Like so many people will be like, yeah, on your day off, why don't you come do this? Or on your day off, why don't you come do this? And they think that just because again, my storefront is open Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So to a lot of people, like they think, oh, well, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, she's off. And it's like, no. Like I'm actually never off. Like there's no off day unless I create the off day. You know what I'm saying? And so if you're someone who works for yourself, I totally see you. I hear you. Like I get that type of stuff all the time. And I am getting to a place where I'm like, I just can't let it bother me because like a lot of people are not going to understand what I do. They're not going to understand my job. They're not going to understand that, yeah, I need to sit here on this couch and create 5 pieces of content if I'm going to make a dime today. Like to a lot of people, that might just look like me scrolling on my phone. You know what I mean? And so anyways, that was just a small little rant that I just needed to say. Like, if you know someone who works for themselves, I promise you, there's probably not very many days off for that person. Their wheels are always spinning. They're always coming up with new ideas. They're always looking for, the next creative move or whatever. And that's also to say, back to the whole 9 to 5 thing, 9 to 5 jobs aren't for everyone. Being a creative person who owns a business is also not for everyone. So, like, you choose your own hard. You choose your own hard. You know what's hard to me? You know what's really hard to me? Is waking up in the morning every single day by an alarm at 5:45 and rushing my kids to get ready, rushing them out the door, and then putting on scrubs and going to a speech therapy job 5 days a week with not very much leniency and not being in charge of my own schedule and having to sit in meetings with paperwork and having to answer to a boss. That's really, 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 really hard for me. That's really hard for me. But that might not be hard for someone else. That might sound like the dream to someone else. And what might be hard for them is, not having a salary, being in charge of where your income comes from, constantly having to come up with new creative ideas, juggling all the things that people who own small businesses have to juggle. Because, you've seen those reels and those TikToks of like people who are like, I quit my 9 to 5 so that I could be my own boss, and now I work 24/7. And that is kind of like the vibe sometimes, especially if you're not working smarter and you're working harder. I'm in this season of my life where I'm trying to pare back on my business and figure out what are the easy ways that I'm making money, what is flowing, what is not so hard and not so clunky and not so like what doesn't take so much of my time. That's another thing is like there are some small business owners that I just watch and I'm like, girl, you have got to be so tired because like you're just go, 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 go all the time full of cortisol, and like you don't ever take the time to stop and be like, wait, is this working or is this not? Like those are the important things. But anyway, all that to say, we all choose our own hard. We all choose our own hard. And yes, owning your own business is very hard. But I would rather own my own business and create all the time and maybe not really know exactly where the next paycheck is coming from, not having a salary, but knowing that I also have the freedom to take my boys to the dentist on a random Wednesday morning or take off completely on a random Monday and not have to ask for, paid time off or whatever. Like, you choose your own hard. You choose your own hard. That's one of my main takeaways from this episode. You choose your own hard. And you also will be able to find evidence for whatever narrative you want circling around in your head. Again, if you want the narrative in your head of life sucks, work sucks, I'm tired, I never sleep, I'm fat, I hate my life, like, okay, then you will find evidence to support that narrative. But if you are on the other side and you're like, I am out here living my best life, I am out here and I know good things are coming my way, I'm just going to put my head down and do my work and try to stay in alignment and do what feels good to me and serve other people around me and create, like then that's the narrative that you will be able to find evidence for. So anyway, why do I feel like I'm on a soapbox every time every time I'm like getting off the mic? I'm like, wow, did I just like preach a church sermon? I'm like, maybe I did. Maybe I should be a preacher. No. Anyways, okay. I love y'all so much. Thank you so much for listening. I think this was my favorite episode that I've done so far. So again, shoot me a message on Instagram. Follow me on Instagram. You can follow me at Little Yellow Door, or you can follow me at Open Your Own Door Podcast. You can follow me all the places. We also have the Instagram account for the garage. If you live anywhere local and you want to have an event in our event space, I think that one is the garage at LYD. Basically, if you get on Little Yellow Door, you'll be able to find all the links and all the Instagrams and everything. And I will put everything in the show notes that we talked about today. So I hope you have a beautiful afternoon. Enjoy the weather if you are somewhere where it actually might feel like fall. I'm sitting in my sunroom and I have behind me, I have a little fall candle lit. So anyways, I love you guys and I hope you have a wonderful afternoon. Bye.